right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today we got a spicy topic within the community to talk about, and that is, was the Splitgate 2 Battle Royale a mistake, right? Should they have done something different? Or did they do the right move, or they just presented it differently than what the community would have thought in terms of the kind of Battle Royale that Splitgate 2 is providing? Or should it just remained out of there in the first place? And should they just have focused on the multiplayer, so that way the multiplayer itself would have, all the content that it's missing, that it's trying to catch up on, because at the end of the day, is Battle Royale in some way, shape, or form holding this game back? Or is it something that in the long run will actually help the game? Because both sides are actually viable. Because when you think about it, even from a business perspective, a Battle Royale does make sense, because even though it's not in its prime anymore, it's still immensely popular. And even before it was officially announced that it was a Battle Royale, that the third mode was for Splitgate 2, people were speculating all over social media. They're like, it's a Battle Royale, it's a Battle Royale, it's got to be a Battle Royale, right? Content creators, both big and small, were saying that games like XDefiant and Halo Infinite missed a massive opportunity by not having a Battle Royale in their games or whatnot, and stuff like that. Specifically with Halo more than XDefiant, in my opinion. Two reasons for that. Number one, because Halo Infinite released years before XDefiant. And of course, because Halo Infinite, like, if you look at its core gameplay, it does, and as well as things like vehicles, the world, and stuff like that, it definitely had support. It had definitely had the kind of, tools and bits and pieces in there for a unique Battle Royale. And so many content creators out there that specifically, the big guys that play Battle Royale were just basically saying that left and right. They do have a point, but at the same time, they also, I'm sure, were tired of playing the same old games over and over again, right? Whether it was Warzone, whether it was Apex Legends, or whether it was Fortnite, I'm pretty sure they were getting sick and tired of playing the same old Battle Royales, and they wanted something new to play, and they were just, making content out of it. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that there was some truth to that, because when you look at Halo Infinite's core gameplay, even XDefiant itself, if they were to make a Battle Royale, which, again, I don't care for Battle Royale personally, but if they were to do that, it might have gained some traction with in its own unique way. You just never know, but we'll never know, will we? But Splitgate 2 managed to do it. And that's what we're going to focus on. Like, are you one of those people that doesn't like the style of Battle Royale that they did present? Did you guys prefer something else? Like, let's say a Helldivers 2 thing, to where it's like a PvE, something that gets consistently updated, but obviously is a first-person shooter, which is obviously very appealing to casuals as well, because when casuals are playing together with their buddies against, an AI enemy, or a whole bunch of AI enemies with bosses and waves and waves of enemies and stuff like that, and kind of like mini missions to accomplish and stuff like that, upgrade weapons, XP, cosmetics, you name it, right? That's something that would also be a very good fit in this game as well, honestly. There were so many different ways they could have gone about it. And of course, as I mentioned, like, should they have not even worried about a third mode and just worried about the content that is currently missing from the multiplayer that it needs to catch up on? Because the community has been very adamant about that. You guys have been very vocal about that. You guys, are sick and tired of ranked not releasing in games. The other little things that kind of help glue everything together, like things like stats, in-game stats, leaderboards and stuff like that, combat records, as well as an in-game progression system, which is something that obviously is important. I mean, even when XDefiant came out, that was one of the things that people were complaining about. One of the top 3 complaints probably was that there was no progression system. They did manage to release something, but again, as I mentioned, it's all about timing. Like, let me give you the biggest example right here, right? So for those of you guys that remember, back in 2017, Call of Duty World War II released in a certain state, right? And then in the middle of its life cycle, about 6 or so months later, they released the biggest overhaul in Call of Duty history at that time, which I believe still stands to this day, to the game. And the game ended up being that much better for it in every single way. Like, all the stuff that the fans wanted was pretty much given and stuff like that. The system was overhauled tremendously, like in terms of like how everything worked, right? So and people embraced it. However, so many people had already left the game, and many people never got to experience that. And for the very small number of people that ended up coming back after that game's life cycle, or towards the end of that game's life cycle, they were like, wow, this is almost like, if this had come out like this, it would have been one of the best Call of Duties ever released, or something like that, right? So That was the vibe among the community. But again, timing is everything, right? Like I mentioned previously so many times in so many videos, it's not just about getting your audience, it's about keeping them. This is the kind of mindset that the CEOs and the devs need to have. Now, obviously the devs are doing their part, they're doing their best, obviously, and stuff like that. But ultimately it all boils down to the CEOs and stuff like that. You got to treat this thing like a very sensitive egg that you don't want it to slip, or you don't want to squeeze it, or crack it or anything like that. It's very delicate and you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to drop it. You don't want to drop the ball, because you may not get a second chance. But the thing is this, I think this is one of the reasons why the devs are, obviously they did the survey. I don't think it's going to be the last one that they do. And when you look at what's in the game in terms of what they released with the map creator, which is something that I've been told also that it's going to be continuously updated to be made even better. And obviously that they're taking community feedback about the factions and other things. And the next thing on their list is obviously on the 3rd of July, we've got ranked and the camo mastery system coming out and more. We don't know what the more is, but if they end up managing to squeeze a progression system in there, that will be impressive. And that will literally show the community just how much these guys are grinding their asses off in order to pretty much catch up from all the lost time or whatever, right? So, and of course, you've also got the fact that the Battle Royale needs to be maintained, right? Things need to be improved. The community that loves Battle Royales and that gives feedback on that game mode needs to be dealt with as well. You've got a multitude of different ways to play this game because of what you're offering. So therefore, all of those aspects need to be dealt with, right? So we've been told by the developers that it's going to be a 50-50 thing. But at the same time, when you look at the multiplayer side of things, right? When you're looking at multiplayer side of things, you just can't help but think of like an extra 50% of those developers, right? Putting their attention onto that multiplayer, right? Imagine how much more can be achieved. Imagine how much more will come out, more content, more weapons, more cosmetics, the progression system continuing to get upgraded, things like that, the ultimate multiplayer game, right? But for one reason or another, you have this extra mode, whether it's in a form of a battle royale or whether it's in the form of a PvE. At the end of the day, it's going to take, a significant percentage of your total developers that need to pay attention to that as well. And the energy is being divided, and some people are fine with that, and others are not. And others will suggest that the energy should not be divided until you get to a certain point in production to where everything is good and holding stable on every corner, right? Then you can start maintaining and dividing. But unfortunately, that is not the position that we're at in this game. However, I do believe that this game, because it is a solid game with solid developers, that it can get to a point to where it catches up. It's not lost yet, but it does have catching up to do. And it's going to be very interesting in terms of what we're going to get in the entirety of that July 3rd update. Because whatever more means, it could be a progression system. You never know. But at the same time, I think it would be wise to promote something like that because it's something that the audience has been wanting. 3 pillars, and I've talked about this on stream, 3 pillars that audiences have been wanting, right? That they've been telling and saying it repeatedly on social media and comment section, videos, you name it, right? Big, small, everything, right? Ranked, and in any given order, by the way, right? You got ranked, you've got, the camos, obviously, and then you've got your progression system. And I would argue the progression system is probably the most important of the 3 because you got to give people something to grind for, right? And with all due respect to ranked, I know ranked has gained in popularity over the years. I know the community is more competitive. I know it should have been there at launch, and I agree with you because when you got games in the past, like a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 that released with ranked, 2 different versions of it, might I add, right? One a little bit more towards casuals that had team deathmatch in there, and then of course you had what the competitive players played. So they took that into consideration. Plus you had your zombies and your multiplayer. Now I know that the dev team back then was probably larger, and of course it's Activision, so they've got even more money than these guys have in terms of the project. But it was 2012, so maybe things were cheaper, and you never know. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we know, and the devs know, that this could have been done a little bit differently, but we are where we are now. And I do have faith that we can catch up, but it's not just about catching up, just like it's not just about getting your players, it's about keeping them, right? We need to catch up, and we need to maintain, and we need to grow. Even if it means it's at a slow and steady pace, we need to grow. And ultimately, it's up to the community and the devs. And of course, you got the money aspect to it. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comment section what you think on whether or not Battle Royale was a mistake or whether or not they should have gone in one direction or another. There's not really a wrong answer. There's just opinions. So with that being said, as always, I thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.